I mean, if we didn't make money, we stopped doing something, but not tons. And I wouldn't call that a score. Scores are like the Hot Wheels where you get, and sometimes they'll get them at estate sales where you find something cheap and you make a ton of money. If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't have put the golden handcuffs on. But remember,
what would you have done?
It's a different world, right? When I start, there is no internet. All the stuff we're doing like now, like I could have probably done like some of many things, like my eBay sports business would have taken off. Lots of different things, doing what you do, but none of this stuff exists, right?
Yeah.
The path is a lot narrower.
Well, it's actually probably your fault I do this and I think this way, because I remember coming over to your house and you were like explaining PayPal to me. And I was like, I don't get it. And you're like, so let's say I gave you $10 for allowance. I could just send it to you digitally. And I was like, I don't get it. And so I think I learned a lot from you, actually. So you retired from that. And now you're a park ranger and you're like kind of traveling about.
It's all an experiment, right? I believe in experimenting.
Hey girl, you're listening to The Samantha Parker Show, an unhinged and insider look at the girl boss lifestyle. I'm like the best friend in your earbuds that you didn't know you've been craving. It's conversations from the girls' bathroom that are going to make you smile, inspire the hell out of you, and hype you up. You are not as crazy as you think. Life is a wild ride, and girl, I invented the roller coaster. So grab your favorite beverage and let's be unhinged together. So welcome to the show.
Okay, well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Samantha Parker Show. My guest today is extra special.
I am?
Yeah, I would say so. I've never had a parent on. So this is my dad, guys. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. This will be great.
Yeah, we're going to just pre-warn it. He's a big talker, which is my favorite thing about you.
Wow. No, I don't talk much. I'm a quiet type.
You're not the quiet type. But I would say you're not really like a big talker, like you tell really great stories.
Well, I tell a lot. I do talk a lot. So stories sometimes just come out.
Yeah. And by stories, I mean, like, I love listening to like the things you've done or the adventures and the way that you tell it. You're really good at like telling the story of like something you've done.
Well, that's good to hear because some people who will remain unnamed, they say, stop telling the same story over and over. We've heard it before. They go, we did not want to hear your LaSalle Pass story one more time.
Wait, what's the LaSalle Pass story? Now I need to know this.
You've heard the LaSalle Pass story.
I don't think I have.
Were you riding motorcycles outside of Moab?
I've never heard this.
You haven't heard the LaSalle Pass story?
No.
Oh, it'll be great to unroll it again.
Okay.
So.
Well, hold on. Let me give you a little intro. So it's not just my dad. You've been my dad for 39 years. I'm going to turn 40. Does that make you feel really old?
No, not so much as when I see people like Harley go, all of a sudden they're in college.
So you have like a grandkid in college. You feel old.
Well, I don't know that I feel old, but I mean, it definitely makes you more aware of your status in life, I should say.
Your status in life. I think what's weird now is I'm like, oh, I'm going to turn 40. And I'm like, oh, that means I'm an adult. And I'm like, wait, I've been an adult for a long time. Like, that's just how I feel in my head. I feel like I'm finally an adult.
I'm still, I would say I feel like an adult, but I don't feel like I'm the age I am. I look in the mirror and I'll go like, that can't be me. I feel like in my mind, I'm probably like 35.
35.
Uh-huh.
What do you think?
Something like that.
We also have my stepmom here, Brenda. She's not on the mic though. Hi. Hi. I see you're wearing Brooks. I'm a big fan of Brooks. Those are my running shoes. I actually just wore out my first pair of running shoes. They have a hole in them now. I know. I was really proud of that though. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
You can wear out your shoes with miles before the tips wear out.
Yeah. It's like the little toe. I think I must pull my one toe out. Yeah. Okay, but so my dad is retired, but not really. So, and you probably don't like that word either.
How do you define retired?
Yeah.
I hear this a lot.
So you retired from being a surveyor for the state of Utah.
The city of Salt Lake.
The city of Salt Lake. And the last job you had, you were out at the airport.
Yeah.
Which was kind of fun, right?
That was a good job. People thought I was crazy to quit that job.
Oh, well, didn't you retire though? You didn't really quit.
Well, quit. I stopped working there, however you wanted to find it.
And people thought that was crazy.
Yeah. I remember one guy saying to me, he goes, "What is wrong with you? You've got 10 more good years in you."
Of work?
Yeah. And I said,
oh,
precisely.
I've never thought about that. I've got 10 more years of hard labor.
No, he was like that. He goes, "What is wrong with you? Why are you leaving?"
Yeah.
And because I wanted to do something different.
Okay. And then your something different is now you're a park ranger. And I tell people this all the time. I'm like, my dad's a park ranger.
Well, it's all an experiment, right? I believe in experimenting. So I retired and I spent, how long did I last, Brenda? 3 or 4 months sitting on the porch, not doing much.
Was he actually sitting on the porch? We can fact check.
Pretty much.
And I go, this isn't working for me. So then I started volunteering because I had to do something, at a state park. And then eventually I volunteered for national parks. And then it led to being a paid ranger, which I like. I wouldn't do it year round. I wouldn't accept permanent positions. So I started volunteering as a park ranger. And I like doing that, but I don't want to do it all the time. People will offer me full-time jobs, but I might know. But eventually they said, you just need to put on the uniform and get paid. You do the same things we do. So that's what I do now. Right now, that's my current thing I like doing until we'll see what the next experiment is.
Well, what's kind of cool about it is you were just out at Great Basin. Was it Great Basin?
Yeah, it was a Great Basin National Park.
I forget. I feel like it's one of the national parks that people are like, that's a national park? Great Basin. It's in Nevada?
Yeah, it's in Nevada, just across the border from Utah.
Okay.
But not very far.
Yeah, well, we went out there. And we stayed with you in your killer trailer lot. We pulled up and Jake was like, are you sure about this? And I was like, yep, I'm sure. But no, it was pretty cool. But what's cool is like you can go somewhere and then you can have that experience and then you can go somewhere else. You're not like, this is what I do forever.
Yeah, some park rangers they stay in one place 30 years. Other people are like 1 or 2 seasons is enough. I think it just depends on how you're wired as a person. Kind of like switching jobs. Some people are lifers, some are not. At the Park Service, we call them roamers and stayers. Are you one of the two? Roamers, a couple years is all they can do. Even if it's a great situation, the grass is always greener. I got to do something different. A stayer, it's like, it's comfortable. I know this place. And they'll stay there decades, no matter what's thrown at them, good or bad. In my opinion, that's pretty limiting, but I'm definitely a roamer.
Yeah, I would say you are. I get really bored.
Bad is better than bored. That's one of my job motto. I'd rather have a bad job that's not boring than be bored. Bored is the worst.
Yeah. I just feel like I get bored. I'm like, oh, we're doing this again today. I don't make a very good employee. I do because I'll work hard and I show up,
That would be similar to me. I'm a good employee when I'm there, but I was definitely known as like someone that said to me, goes, you're not afraid, are you? And I go, no.
Yeah. My last job I had, which was 10 years ago. Isn't that crazy? Like an actual job. Yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years. It's wild.
Wait, you're saying this is not a job? Is that what you're saying? I got to protest.
I would say this is like...
What is this?
I don't feel like this is a job. Like, I don't have to be somewhere at a certain time. Like, sometimes I do, right? But like, I can always I feel like if I can dictate my time, it's not a job. And then I can also dictate my income, which there are like highs and lows in business, but I'm not like subjective to like, this is your pay for the year. You don't get a raise. There's no like alternative income. So to me, like, I wouldn't say this is a job by like the technical definition.
What is it? I'd say it's a job, but I also like your thought on you can dictate your income. Like say when I used to work for the city, the most you're ever going to make at the city, you're not going to make more than the mayor. No matter what you do, you part the Dead Sea. Yeah. And they go, that's fine. Now go back to your cubicle.
Yeah. And I feel like there's no room for negotiation. It's like, we're God and this is what you get.
Unless in the government sector, right, a lot, that's true. There's a lot they can do. In the private sector, it depends. You can be God. If you're the one in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. One of my favorite sayings. That business is becomes so dependent on you, you can literally start writing your own ticket. I knew a guy who did something like that work.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of people who enjoy that. I don't know why. Like, I just couldn't do it. I think what I had the hardest time with is the last job.
What was the last job? Refresh me.
Yeah. I worked as a florist. I worked at Bloomers. And it was like, you had to be there at a certain time and you had to like do so much output. And then it was like, I was like, I'm only making $13 an hour. Like, what's next for me here? And it was, be thankful we pay you that because you're getting paid more than the girls who've been here longer. So shut your mouth. And I was like, what? That was what I was met with. And I was like, oh, dang. And I think I probably would thrive somewhere where there was maybe even a little bit of a corporate ladder to climb. I could probably have handled that. But where it's just like, be thankful for what we're giving you, shut your mouth, do the job. I was like, oh, that's not going to work.
No, I hear that 100%. I call those basically throwaway jobs.
Yeah. And I
There's-
thought that's what it was like, that was like, you should be appreciative you have this. And these girls are going to work here forever. And I'm like, what?
Well, I remember a classic meeting we were having once when I worked at the city it was during the recession and how we were all getting some furloughs and whatnot. And being, like I said, not afraid, I'm game to speak my piece. I don't remember what I said, but I remember the guy looking at me and saying, you just should feel lucky you have a job.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was kind of stuck because pensions are good and they're bad. The golden handcuffs is a real thing. And I just thought, well, wait, we'll see, your time will come. But I love how like that particular government stuff is completely flipped, where now you look at them and go, no, you're lucky if I'll work for you. They don't even have applicants.
That's
But
awesome.
that was one of the things I hated, that statement of just feel lucky you have a job. It's like, oh yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And I do think, there's nothing wrong with like having jobs and things like that. I don't know. I think now that I've had like this little taste of freedom, and I do have stuff that has to be done, like there are things I have to deliver and stuff like that. But I like if it was like 2 a.m, I could do it. And I like that if I don't feel good, like I can be like, hey, like I need to cancel the day, and nobody's like, or you're not going to get paid. Everyone who kind of works in this industry and that I encounter is actually like really understanding of it, because a lot of them are contractors too.
Yeah, they own their own business. And like you're saying, this isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't know who will listen to this, but people who are, it's not owning their own business, isn't. Be intentional about where you work. If it's a dead end where there's no place to go, keep looking, because there are some places out there with paths.
Oh, yeah. Like
going into dad mode with advice.
Well, no, my husband, works a normal job and he's like quite content with it. I wouldn't say he loves it, but he's like, I like it, And I'm like, you obviously liked your job. You stayed there for a long time, Brenda. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's just, I think it's personality types, or
I think it's personality types, because I was a stayer and it's like the known is the best. The unknown is scary.
Yeah. Which I actually appreciate having my husband as a stayer. He's definitely a stayer. He was just retired from the Army for 20 years, and I was surprised he retired. But it's like, we've got consistent insurance, consistent pay stubs when we buy houses. And like those things are pretty awesome, because I'm just like out here like, la, la, la. So there is something to be said for that when you have to play the game.
Well, to be fair, we'd probably be outliers. I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of weirdos, I prefer the label eccentric on myself. But
I think I'd rather be called a weirdo.
You'd rather be called a weirdo than an eccentric?
Yeah, I even have a shirt that says weirdo. I like weirdo.
Okay, you can be a weirdo. I'll be an eccentric weirdo.
Okay. I'm like, I don't care what people say about me. But let's see. So you retired from that. Now you're a park ranger and you're like kind of traveling about. You're going to Hawaii next.
Yeah. So I will do things like volunteer for the Park Service. I'm going to Hawaii in February for 3 months to work at Volcano. And when I say work, I mean, it'll be a volunteer. You'll do all the same things, but I wear a different uniform and I don't get a paycheck. But I will do that now for special opportunities like I consider Hawaii to be, because I has free housing and we'll be living at the park.
So if you don't get paid at all?
No.
So are you just living on retirement? Like, how do you fund this?
I refund it because I paid my dues. I wore those golden handcuffs in the just be lucky you have a job.
Yeah.
So I have a pension.
So you'll kind of be self-funded, but working at Volcanoes National Park.
Yeah. Yeah. I also collect Social Security.
How old are you?
I'm 62. That's funny. I had this conversation with a younger ranger early this season. She was sitting by me. I think she's 22 or something. We're working on our computers, doing some office. She goes, Bill, how do you live? And I go, well, what do you mean? I just live. She goes, no, how do you have money to? Because she goes, obviously this is just something you do. It doesn't matter. And I go, because I get a pension, I have investments, Social Security, and she was just scratching her head.
Well, it's questions that we should be able to ask, though, because I would be curious, like, I'm like, how do people do all this? Or you're just curious. Like, I ask my cousin a ton of financial questions because he does, mortgages and things like that. And I was like, well, how did you just buy like 50 houses? Like, how did you get here? Because if not, like, you don't really know.
There's more than one way to play the game. And so I think one of the key takeaways, which you already know, is There's a lot more ways to make money than W-2s
Yeah.
income. I also follow, like I'm sure your cousin follows Bigger Pockets, because even though I'm kind of retired, I'm always kind of looking. It's all about real estate investing. In fact, have you ever had him on the show?
I haven't, but he would be a really good interview.
That's legit. It's a good way to do things. If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't have put the golden handcuffs on. But remember,
what would you have done?
It's a different world, right? When I start, there is no internet. All the stuff we're doing like now, like I could have probably done like some of many things, like my eBay sports business would have taken off. Lots of different things, doing what you do, but none of this stuff exists, right?
Yeah.
The path is a lot narrower. I mean, you're looking at opening a brick and mortar. So,
well, it's actually probably your fault I do this and I think this way, because I remember coming over to your house and you were like explaining PayPal to me. And I was like, I don't get it. And you're like, so let's say I gave you $10 for allowance. I could just send it to you digitally. And I was like, I don't get it. And so I think I learned a lot from you, actually. And then even when you would do the Hot Wheels cars, did you ever make like good money off of that?
Oh, the Hot Wheels story.
Yeah, because I remember you would go in the morning. That's when I was like, wait, you can like hustle for extra money, and like it doesn't just have to be like what you get. Because I remember you would get up in the morning and you would go to like toy stores or
places sold Hot Wheels. There's actually, I don't know if it's still around, there's a thing called Hot Wheelers.
Yeah, and you would like look for specific Hot Wheels and then you would resell them on eBay.
Yeah, that's probably how I started when I was selling on eBay. The most was like, there was enough of the thing was in the news, Hot Wheelers. So obviously eBay is a great, collectible marketplace. So I started dabbling, getting a few cars. I knew a friend was in Hot Wheels. And then
You knew a friend that was in Hot Wheels. It just sounds funny when you think about it.
There's still people into Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to bet.
Yeah.
But anyway, certain cars are worth decent money. So I sell a few cars and I figure, there's enough information. You figure out the game. Like you're there at first when those doors open, sometimes before. If the door's not locked, you're going in. Hours be damned. You got your own box cutter, because nothing better than seeing a fresh case sitting on the floor, split it open and rifle it for cars.
I don't think I could do that. I would be like, I'm so sorry.
Sure you could.
Impossible.
If you could do this, you could do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Brenda you probably thought it was all kind of dumb and crazy, right?
There was no way we were going to Hawaii on selling Hot Wheels.
So my ultimate
Prove me wrong.
Hot Wheels story is this. So you get a few cars here and there and it's okay. But so all of a sudden there's this one car they're called treasure hunts. It was the Chevelle treasure hunt that year was like Christmas time. Part of my beat is I'd go on my way to work to a Fred Meyer's. I don't know if they were Grand Central then. I had a route. You make surgical strikes and there's cars that there's not.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you knew which stores got Hot Wheels on which days.
Always not a bad idea to chat up the people who work. But anyway, I went in to this Fred Meyer's. And
I'm sorry, this is when being chatty comes in handy.
Don't worry, I'll fill your time slot. So anyway, I go into Fred Meyer's and they have this special holiday display out there of Hot Wheels. And I go, this is brand new, because you go there every day, so you never miss anything. And I see a Chevelle. I go, that's nice, in my basket. All of a sudden, lo and behold, because normally a case will have one or two good cars. This whole display is loaded with this treasure hunt of Chevelles. They're 99 cents. They sell for roughly, if I recall, like $75 a piece. So I'm just loading my basket. I'm like on the adrenaline high, because this is a score. And I'm looking over my shoulder because I'm like, oh, good, there's no other house. Sometimes there's competition and it's survival of the fittest. Kind of like at an estate sale. I go, good, there's no one here. And I'm like, holy shit, look at all these. And I remember just loading them. And then a store worker came out and she goes, well, sir, if you'd like some more variety, there's other cars. And I go, no, these are just fine. And I go, do you have any more in the back?
Yeah.
And she brought out some more. Anyway, to make a long story short, sold all those Hot Wheels enough that we took the whole family to Hawaii.
I went to Hawaii.
You might have been. I don't know. Do you think Sammy was on that Hawaii trip, the Hot Wheels fight us?
Yeah, I think
you were on the Hot Wheel trip.
Because you were saying, I paid for this with Hot Wheels, but I was like...
No, it literally did. I paid for that trip lock, stock, and barrel.
But I'm just saying, I was like, I don't know, like 14 or something. So I was like, what's this guy talking about?
Did you think I was a nut?
No, I was just like... I thought you were funny all the time. Like, that's what I remember growing up. I was like, my dad's funny, you know? So he was like, I paid for this with Hot Wheels. And I was like, well, that's intriguing. You know, you're just little. You don't really have a concept of money. I'm like, you pay for my food and my housing. Like, I didn't really care how we were going.
Yeah.
You know?
You just got it going.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I always thought I was extra lucky because, you know, you and my mom weren't together. So I grew up in like the 2-household situation. And I was like, oh, my dad takes me on fun trips, you know? So I was just like kind of happy to be there. But that's, yeah. So you did the Hot Wheels. And then I remember for a while you were also doing those charms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I tried a lot of different things. I still do. Like, I had this friend. Well, first we sold, because by then we're rolling eBay pretty good. I mean,
weren't you one of the first like sellers on eBay? Like
no,
in the big scheme of things, though.
No, I was probably one of the early buyers when it first started.
Yeah,
but not a seller. That came later. I mean, by today's standards, I suppose 20 years ago. But no, by no means would you say I was like a pioneer. But
well, I just mean you were probably like you were definitely towards the front there.
Yeah, towards the front. But the jewelry sold was this lady friend of mine named Darlene who we worked with. We'd sold Olympic pins to some degree during the Olympics. We're starting to get wholesale accounts by them. We're figuring that out.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is not that hard to do if anyone's listening and want to go in alone, but it's much tougher now because as soon as you get traction, you're up against Amazon and everyone else.
Yeah.
But so she said there's these charms. I don't know crap about charms. They're like these little bracelet things where they had different things on them.
I had the whole SpongeBob collection.
You had the SpongeBob? I sold some SpongeBob.
Mm-hmm. I used to buy them from you.
Did you buy it from me?
Yeah, you wouldn't sell them to me for cheap, though. I remember
that can't be correct. I'm sure I sold them. I'm sure I sold them to you at cost.
You told me you weren't giving me any favors and made me pay for them. I don't
think that's accurate.
This is what I remember.
That's not what I remember, for the record.
You were like, you have to pay for them.
Well, I probably made you pay for them, but I'm sure I sold them for you at cost.
Probably, maybe, yeah.
Business is business, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, so we did that for a while until we would buy them from, I think it was, what's the name? Aminka, big company would manufacture them. We would buy wholesale lots of whatever, like $1,000 worth or something.
Yeah.
And sell them on eBay.
Did you make money from that?
Yeah. I mean, if we didn't make money, we stopped doing something, but not tons. And I wouldn't call that a score. Scores are like the Hot Wheels where you get, and sometimes they'll get them at estate sales where you find something cheap and you make a ton of money.
Yeah.
The other stuff is more regular retail. It's more regular retail. You sell a lot, you make a little off each one, and that becomes tedious. That becomes like a job.
Well, what about when you were selling NFL before NFL? Mm-hmm. Was it NFL?
Yeah, I was selling all kinds of sports gear. You name it. Think of if you're in the West, Utah fans, those kind of stores. If that product's on the shelf, I was selling it on eBay. You could, by then I figured out a little bit the ropes of how to get wholesale accounts. I just go to fans. I look at the packages. Took a few photos just to get the brand names. Had a guy throw me out of fans. I was like, whatever, dude. Just taking pictures on my phone.
I don't think they would say anything because they want people to take photos.
But what happened is it was going good. And other than it was becoming like a job, because at that point I would start. I remember looking at one time, I had like $60,000 of NFL merch on my shelf in my house in the basement.
Yeah.
On the NFL, MLB, all the pro teams. But then it's when you learn life's not going to be fair. All of a sudden, there was my sales rep says, he goes, we can't sell to you anymore. And I go, what up? I buy my $4,000 or $5,000, whatever it was a month. Because I'm rolling that kind of money, using some of it to pay for the kids' college, but still not getting rich, still just a side hustle. He goes, because there's a big company out there called Fanatics. Anybody sports people know Fanatics?
Yeah.
They're raising such cane that the suppliers said, all you guys who we're small fry, we will not sell product to you anymore.
Oh, geez. This is like a Walmart sitch.
And no, that's legit. You're hearing it from someone it happened to.
Yeah.
And to all the other smaller guys where they said basically they cut us off from, and it was all from this company. Because I looked at him, he goes, some big company. I go, you mean Fanatics? And he's my sales rep. He goes, yeah. He goes, I can't move you anything that you're used to getting anymore.
Oh, geez.
So that's when I learned life wasn't fair. So at that point, I stopped that. Yeah. I can't get product and I just sell out what I have. And it was like, And he goes, some of you guys should get together and file a action lawsuit. It's like, who's got time and resources for that? It's like, don't fight battles you can't win. But that was the end of the sports merger.
So, but are you still selling on eBay now?
Somewhat passively. From that, I've morphed into like getting antiques, collectibles at estate sales, because there's nothing like the hunt, the treasure hunt.
So do you guys have, if you guys were both to like pass away, would your basement be a nightmare of antiques?
It will all be yours. It will all be yours.
No, I can split it 3 ways, right? We'd be like, what is this?
There's a lot of interesting things, but now I haven't gone out and shopped like at an estate sale or a place like that for probably a year, maybe, because there's so much stuff. That's a whole nother, gosh, we're going completely down the reseller avenue. That's a whole nother game. And once you're good at it and you have the knowledge, product that you can sell is everywhere in that niche, if you know what you're looking at, more than you can possibly get listed on eBay, especially if do you have this where you kind of have a hard time staying on one thing?
Oh, super hard. And I have to like write myself like little letters to like promise that because I don't know, I just like want to try all these things and do all these things. And I'm very multi-passionate and like, I love that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, oh, that was boring.
And that's why I can't get the stuff listed. I have things are down. I go, oh, that's worth $400 or $500. Maybe I should list it one of these days.
Yeah. But
I could easily get sucked back into that because it's the treasure hunt. You could be out there and you could find something at an estate sale that pay $5 and sell it for $5,000.
Yeah. So are you currently doing anything besides like you're just traveling?
Right now, so I have all these listings that are up on eBay. So I don't list anything new, but as they sell, I ship them. So 4 or 5 things a week. So pretty passive.
Yeah.
I have good intentions. I have not written an accountability note to myself to list more of them.
You should try it. I'm really good at holding myself accountable when I decide I'm going to do it.
I'm not good at that at all.
Oh, really? If I say I'm going to do something, I will do it to like my own detriment.
Not if I say it to myself, because that's negotiable, right?
Oh, I don't know. I get pretty hardcore.
I do not. See, it's like I always reserve the right to change my mind.
I have this like weird discipline thing where I'm like, I will do it and I will do it and I will do it.
I wish I'd been born with a shred of that in my life.
Okay, well, you know what's really funny is, so you are very like, I would say like adventurous in the sense of like backpacking, fishing, all of those things, and like going really weird random places. And the last like couple summers, we've been in central Utah a lot, which your brother Robert says that they live in southern Utah, which they don't. We had a whole argument about this. He says that Penguin is southern Utah. And I'm like, that is not southern Utah. It snows there.
Maybe it's some random line of latitude. Is there a technical definition?
I'm like, no, it snows there. That's my definition. If it snows, it's northern.
Here. I've seen palm trees die in St. George from frost.
One time, 10 years ago.
But it still happened.
It did still happen. The first year we moved here, it snowed like 5 feet. And they don't have snowplows here. And it was crazy. And we had just moved here. Like we'd been here for like not even 6 months. And I'm like, what is going on? Because coming from Salt Lake City, it's like, we had the saying at work where if it snows, you still have to come to work, but you might be late, And then they were even mad if you were late because they were like, well, you should have left 2 hours early. I'm like, what the, But they had a guy, like I was driving down the street here and I was behind this truck. And it was a city truck. And then they had a guy in the back who was just throwing salt out by hand. And I was like, this is what they're doing. And they ended up closing a lot of these downtown roads because they got ice packed. And I'm like, so I had to go to the doctors. And I remember I had to park like 3 or 4 blocks and walk. I'm like, this is crazy for one snowstorm. So yeah, it does snow here. But hopefully it won't this year since we're talking about it.
But as you were saying, we're places in central, not southern Utah. Where were you going with that?
So like we were out, there's Hatch, and we were out like camping in that area. And I was like, oh, let's go over to, and I just started like pulling things out. I was like, tropic, and then we're going to hike this hike. And Jake's like, when have you been here? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just like knew all this stuff about like, but this has happened a lot between me and Jake in our relationship. We've been in like weird places. And I'm like, well, if we just go to da 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 da. And he's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, well, my dad used to just drive us into oblivion.
Is that what you could?
Okay.
Is that what you guys considered it to be?
Well, I would be like, we're in the middle of nowhere, and you had that old Bronco. Was it a Bronco?
Oh, the old Bronc.
Yeah, and it was hot and dusty, and I'd just feel like we're in the middle of nowhere.
Well, we probably were,
We were, yeah.
but was it fun?
Looking back now, I'm like, those are like my favorite memories. Like my favorite. I like fishing, backpacking. Even when you got us lost backpacking that time,
We weren't lost. We were just took a little longer to get there than we thought it would.
you were super lost. And I remember I was a kid, so I was like, this is how we die.
Did you really think we were in danger?
Yeah, just for a minute though. I was like, this is how we die. And you had they were new at the time, those GPSs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were like, well, the military makes them off. And so we were like a mile off. But that's like far as a kid.
Yeah, and it was off trail, so it was difficult navigation.
Yeah. So we're also just like hiking, bushwhacking with backpacks in the middle of the mountains. And you were like, what could be over here? And then when we actually found where we were going, which was Adax, right? Adax Lake.
Yeah, Adax.
You actually didn't know for sure if that was Adax Lake. I remember that.
Oh, I would have had to know it was Adax once we saw the lake.
But there was no signs or anything.
Well, that's because you're off the trail. You're off grid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, he's just making this up.
What? Why would I make it up? It'd be like saying, this is Eskimo Lake, Sam.
I would have been like, okay, cool. Because I'm like, I just remember thinking, I'm like, there's no way this guy knows where we are. But it was fun.
It's glad to know you all had faith.
I mean, I had faith. I was like, we're on a fun adventure.
Was this the trip we had Tom with us?
Yeah, Jim and Tom. Just for context for listeners. So those are your younger brothers. And I always think it's funny. I'm like, they're like my uncles, but they're the same age as me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were with us, which I think they were a little bit older than me.
Yeah, because I remember Jim stopped going, but Tommy, you and I and Tom went for quite a period of time, just us three, where we'd go on one backpack.
Yeah, we did.
Per summer.
Yeah. It was fun. I think those are like seriously some of my favorite memories. But there's a lot of times where I've been like, Jake didn't really grow up like doing stuff like that. And I will be places and he'll be like, how do you know like where we are? You know, I'm like, I just do. Okay. Well, my dad took me.
Yeah. Well, always stay curious.
Yeah. There's so many cool places in Utah too. Do you have like a favorite place?
Oh, favorite place. Well, I had places that were favorites, maybe, but then it's like they became like the national parks are always a favorite, right? Because there's a reason they're national parks. But some of them, like say, I can't rate, say Zion as a favorite anymore because of the crowding. Yellowstone, I can't rate as a favorite because of the crowding.
I haven't been to Yellowstone for a long time, which actually you took me snowmobiling in the winter there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. If you come over to the condo right now, we have remember the passport stamps, the books. We're in the process of getting all the loose papers and putting all the loose stamps and getting them in. So it's like I'm making I'll have to send it to you when I get done. I'm doing this spreadsheet by those stamps that's by date.
Yeah.
So you can see where we were. I remember when we'd go to Yellowstone in the winter. That was fun. I won't say it was a favorite, but that was back when you could ride free, when you had no guides. So you could just ride.
Do you have to go with a guide now?
You have to go on guides so you get in the conga line.
Oh.
Just sort of like riding a guided
Oh my gosh, I bet it gets so bumpy.
Oh, it's always bumpy. Brenda, do you have anything to say about bumpy trail rides on snowmobiles in the winter?
Weren't you pregnant, though? That would have been horrible. Yeah.
I was pregnant with baby when we were snowmobiling. And then pregnant was not when we were snowmobiling.
Yeah, I remember those trips.
Was that a good time?
It was bumpy.
Did you like it?
I think I cried.
Well, being pregnant is horrible. So, and then you're like, let's get on a snowmobile in the freezing cold winter. And those trails get so bumpy.
Yeah.
Snowmobiling's not my favorite thing.
So favorite place in Utah now would be probably still some places in New Orleans, like kind of like not Adax, but there's another place where me and Matt go. I haven't been in a couple of years. That's the downside of being a park ranger in the summer. And what you're saying, you don't get the time off. That's a place where several times it's off trail, but still not a crazy hike. We've been bumping up really close to the state record in grayling, which is kind of hard to catch fish anyway. And I definitely would like that. That's probably my current favorite place in Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go back in there, you will see no one but yourself.
Which is kind of crazy, especially these days. I feel like Utah's gotten so like busy, you know? Everyone's found out that we're quite amazing.
Off trail. That's the secret. Even Yellowstone, like the backcountry.
Yeah. My cousin ended up buying like a ton of property over by Pingwich. That's why we've been out here a lot. And so we go camp on that now. And that's nice because you don't see anybody, but it's private property.
Where's his property?
Okay. So you know where Little Bryce Canyon is, that campground?
No, is it by Bryce?
So no. So you know Hatch?
Yeah.
Okay? And if you keep going like south.
Yeah, out of Hatch.
Mm-hmm, and there's like little towns and stuff through there. He's like, there's the Little Bryce Canyon campground. And then, but they're like on the other side of the hill, like to the right. But it's right off the highway.
Yeah.
But it's like 500 acres. But if you do go to like the corner on the mountain, you can see the highway below.
Yeah. I have a small property over by Bryce Canyon that I bought in a government auction. I'm kind of currently developing. It's in a ghost town. It's called Woodstow.
Oh, yeah. I know where Woodstow is. Just because of you.
Well, you could go there and do a ghost encounter thing because I am on one of the lots of the original owners.
A ghost encounter? I don't know if I'm into that. I don't like spooky stuff.
I've never seen or heard anything there, but it's definitely there were people there.
Yeah.
So,
like ghost people, or just like people used to live there?
No, people used to live there. It's just a classic ghost town that dried up and blew away.
It dried up and blew away.
Well, literally, that's the truth. I mean, because you've been out there, so you know that Johns Valley, right? Where Woodstow is. Back in the day, boy, this was ranging everywhere. I have a book that I had to buy for a considerable price on eBay, a history of that area. There was a period in the 30s but in the 20s when water was, it was raining and stuff was wet. And they actually farmed lettuce out there, if you can believe it, in that valley. And anyway, to make a long story short, eventually the Dust Bowl, everything dries up and goes back to normal climate. You can't grow anything out there except cows. And these towns like Woodstow developed, and this happened around the country. The government said, okay, we got to help these agricultural towns out there. And they did a relocation program. And the people, not forced relocation, but all right, we'll buy you out and get you new places to go.
To a book right now because they did that during the Great Depression because they had overfarmed the land, and so everything was blowing away. In the book I'm listening to right now, I'm like, this is really fascinating. And the government was trying to come in and tell the farmers like they needed to farm different, but the farmers didn't like that. So it's kind of like they were their own demise.
Yeah, some things they just don't work anymore.
Yeah,
kind of like mining towns. You look, there's like. Here, Silver Reef. There's these huge mining towns. They're gone. There's nothing there anymore because things change.
Do you remember that time we were out there camping in central/southern Utah? And we went to Tropic Reservoir, and I remember me and you were swimming on the dam. I was telling my kids this story when we were there this summer, swimming on this little dam at Tropic. And I was like, one time me and my dad were out here and we're just like swimming in the water and it's cold, and we look over and I'm like, Dad, those guys don't have clothes on. And you were like, ah! And like these Europeans had pulled up.
I remember that.
And they got in the water naked. And you were like, I think it's time to go. I was telling my son Caden about it though, and he was laughing so hard.
I don't know if we decided it was time to go, but I definitely remember that happening.
Yeah, I just remember you being like, just look over here. So I was like, Dad, why are they naked?
Because they can.
Yeah. But it's definitely like a European thing. You're like, they're from Europe. I remember you saying that.
That was a bad stereotype, wasn't it?
Well, they were, though. Like they were speaking something that wasn't English.
But I don't think they were naked because they were European.
Well, I just think, no, but I think the Europe culture, like, don't they swim naked a lot? Like it's a little more normal? Or do you think these people were just like...
I'm not qualified to answer that.
I mean, I've never seen it. I've just heard, okay? So yeah, I am stereotyping them. These are the funny things I remember, though. I really liked that backpacking trip we did that one time, too, where I had Pop-Tarts, and I was using them to, like, negotiate Pop-Tarts and peanut butter.
Was that the one with Tom where you said, Tom, if you'll carry all this stuff, I will give you some.
Yeah.
You had the marshmallows?
Yeah, I started, like, negotiating with him for food, and he was like, I'll carry that.
I remember that. I think that was another... I remember once we went to ADAX, you, me, and Tom, and it rained the whole time. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a different trip, though.
But wasn't that the marshmallow trip? No. I
remember that because we had to camp in, like, taller, like, foliage, and it was just wet.
Well, I remember it rained the whole time. I remember we quit even wearing our hiking boots and stuff because you could never get them dry. Remember we were on that cliff? Yeah. Because there's no one there. We're on that cliff throwing giant rocks into the lake.
We were throwing, like, giant boulders, yeah. See, that's the kind of stuff you just can't do at national parks.
That's true. But it was on the Forest Service, so it was still not a good idea now. It was kind of randomly destructive, but it was fun.
What did you tell me this summer? I was like, oh, look at this video I filmed on my drone. And you were like, you launched a drone? And I was like, no.
See, that's my park ranger self now.
Yeah.
No drones in the parks.
There was nobody around.
Doesn't matter. It disturbs wildlife and it disturbs others.
Yeah, it is the drones are kind of weird. Have you ever been in your garden, had one? And I'm like, I don't like that. I'm like, well, whose neighbor thinks that this is okay?
I find the noise can be annoying sometimes, not crazy annoying, but it's like somewhat annoying.
At our house we lived at before, someone in the HOA had like lost their mind. It was, there's always one person in the HOA that's crazy. And they had taken aerial photos of our house, our yard, and like left like this packet on my doorstep of all the things they thought I should do to make my property better. And I lost it. I left this man 10 voicemails and he never returned one. So
no, that's creepy crazy.
Yeah.
That would bother me. Do you think, I haven't looked at this, but thank heavens for Google. I wonder if there's any sort of jamming device. I know they have them for cell phones. They're illegal, but you can get them on the dark web, where you could say if we're grown like that, spying on your privacy, you just go,
I just jam it.
How about this, dude? And watch the drone sail into the sunset or crash.
Well, so just because of what I do, we were out too close to the airport. We were trying to
working in an airport. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, we weren't like trying to drone the airport or anything like that. We were just on the edge and we were getting video of the neighborhood for real estate videos. And his drone wouldn't launch because it's too close to the airport. It literally, there's something like a signal that goes out.
It doesn't surprise me. I know, because there's a large zone around the airport, even on private property, you can only build something so high.
Yeah.
Drones, it wouldn't surprise me. I was never aware that they have some sort of electronic countermeasures.
Yeah, there's something going on. So we just had to move a street over and then we could film
the area.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting. So what do you feel like is the most interesting thing you've done in your life?
The most interesting?
Yeah.
In a good way or a bad way?
I don't know. I feel like maybe you've had a colorful secret life. I don't know. I could see you being a secret FBI agent.
No, I was not a secret FBI agent. Probably the most interesting thing I did was probably going to Alaska when I was just 18, right out of high school. That was probably the most interesting. Nowadays it seems kind of more mundane. But I got a summer job, a seasonal job at a fishing lodge. And back then, there's no internet. Yeah. It was weird. I remember this book at the library. It was Summer Jobs, a little hardbound book. And
really?
You had all these by state, and people would advertise kind of like they would now and I worked at a fishing lodge in the bush. I was a dishwasher. Why I did that was I wanted to fish in Alaska, right? And I got no money.
Yeah.
And so I went up there, and I had been a dishwasher at a restaurant, at a big place that had breakfast, but it was major bar rushes on the weekend nights. Anyway, so I was a dishwasher at this place, but it was fly in out in the bush. And that's all I did is I washed dishes. But the beauty of it was at night. So I could fish in the day, and I could also, I could go through that whole kitchen because of having dealt with bar rushes in 4 hours instead of 8. But the guys would come and get me in the morning. They'd wake me up and said, hey, can you go out if you want, come out and help us with the clients? Because these people are rich.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking real money, not a little bit. Like
wealthy.
Well, one time, I'll give you an example. I was working and there was this little doorway through the kitchen you could see. And I was wearing my Dallas Cowboys shirt back there. And all of a sudden the door opens and this woman comes in and she says, do you like the Dallas Cowboys? And I go, oh, yeah, sure. And she says, that's good because I own them. That's the kind of clientele they had. I believe it was Georgia Frontera back when she had it.
Then you're like, wait, just kidding. It was my favorite team in the whole world.
Well, that's why it was, because that's why I was wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the kind of clientele they had. But I would go out and help those guys who just said, got a seat on the plane. We're talking little Cessna 206 float planes. We'd go out and I'd help them cook lunch and fish. That was probably the most interesting thing.
That's fun.
Other than... there's a lot of interesting things I don't disclose with everyone. Well, there was one funny story I'll tell you. So we were horsebacking in the Ruby Mountains with my brother Robert and some of his friends. And one of them is...
Where are the Ruby Mountains?
They're in northern Nevada.
Okay.
So he goes, do you want to go to horseback? He goes, I want horseback. I go, all right. He goes, you get the horses and the mules and stuff, and I'll do the navigation and that's not a big deal. But anyway, this Mexican guy is a friend of ours. I had seen him. We used to party hard together, he and I. Just by happenstance. And I hadn't seen him for 20 years. And we were going, so my son Matt's with us. Matt's in his 20s. So first thing that...
Oh, this is like recent.
Probably we went to the Ruby's, like 3 years ago?
Okay.
Anyway, so we go out there, and the first thing that comes out of Hoey's mouth, that's short, his friends call him that, is Joel. He says, Bill, I haven't seen you since that time we were in jail in Cedar City.
Oh my gosh.
And Matt's like, what? Because I don't tell you guys this stuff, you know?
Yeah, what'd you go to jail for?
Well, we went as we were at the Holiday Inn. I don't remember what it took us. We just went to the bar. We weren't staying there. I was staying with Robert. He was married, but he goes, we'll go over here and have a few drinks, and my friend Hoey will come along with us. Yeah. So we're down there, and we're having a good old time. Pretty soon, Robert taps out because he's married to Hoey or not, and I are not. So we're shooting tequila.
Oh, that's never good.
You know how that can go. And eventually, we're not causing any trouble or anything. We decide to leave. And so I remember he's driving, and we're in Cedar City, and he goes, that guy's following us, Bill. And I go, yeah, it's a cop. That's not good. He's like, he goes, what should you do? Get on the freeway. He'll either shake him. So he immediately pulls us over on the freeway, right?
If you're drinking and driving, you should not get on the freeway.
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, right?
This is also the 80s, right?
Yeah, it probably was the 80s. So we get on the freeway. He immediately lights us up, pulls us over. And I don't know how many shots we had taken, but we were not borderline. We were fully in the zone. Anyway, so he's like, get out and do the field sobriety test. So of course I'm watching going, oh, this sucks. This is, because there's no way he's not getting a DUI, right?
Yeah.
I go, this is nothing but bad news. I'm sitting there going, sitting in the passenger side of the cop car going, what a horrible ending to the night. And anyway, so eventually he comes back and puts Hoey in the back, and he goes, he's terrible. He goes, he goes, if you could pass, I would let you guys go. Do you want to try it? I go, sure, I'm game.
Is this a trap?
so I get, well, yeah, but I was worrying enough. I'm doing, but I go, sure, I'll give it a try. So I come out, and he goes, you're even worse than he is. So he goes, both of you in the car. And so then we're proceeding to drive to the police station. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm being a nice guy. Sometimes I'd be a little combative, but I was being on good behavior. So I go, well, so obviously he's getting a DUI, right? Why do I have to go? What have I done? He goes, are you public intoxication? He goes, no. He goes, I can't remember what he said I had to go in for. But anyway, we got in there, and I'm going, okay, it's just a matter of time until we're just locked up, right? Until we can get out. And anyway, we get in there, and he goes, I got an option for you guys. And we're like, okay. He goes, you would never see this in this day and age, because by now we're at the police station.
Yeah. He
says, I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes. If you can call someone and get someone to come and get you guys, I'll just let you go. It'll all be forgotten.
A small town.
Well, in a different era.
Yeah.
So I called my cousin, and coincidentally, my cousin, she had been going out with Hoey.
Oh, okay.
But they were on the outs. They had kind of broken up. But I called her, and I said, this is probably by one in the morning. Yeah. And I'm like, Leslie, because that's the only person we know. We've got to get us. She goes, what are you? Yeah, I go, we're in the jail, but they says they'll let us go if we can get a ride. And I go, we're with Hoey though. And by then they were on the major outs where she was like, "Arr." And I go, you got to do me one thing. If you've ever done it in your life, I know, just come and get us.
Did she come get you?
She come and got us, and we rode free.
That's crazy.
And I had not seen him until we went until we were on the pack trip, and that's the first thing. And Matt's like, what?
You're like, shut up.
No, it was all right.
No, it's funny.
It's funny now.
Yeah. That is kind of funny though. Especially if you're out riding horses and you're like, just a second. Okay, so what do you kind of feel like you're doing next, just to wrap this up?
Oh, next, always experiment, always stay curious. We're going to do Hawaii, and I don't know if I'll work at a park next summer. I like still doing that because I like the people. I consider doing that. I don't know if I'll get time to do it. I'm thinking about doing a YouTube channel.
Okay. Do you know who else wants to do a YouTube channel?
Kane, right?
No, your brother, Robert.
I don't see him having the technical expertise for it.
Well, sometimes like he calls me quite a bit. And sometimes I think he just makes up reasons to call me and see how I am. And the last time he called me, he was like, I'm going to start one of those YouTube channels. And I'm like, I don't think he is, but I'll talk to you.
So he really is?
No, I don't think he is. I think he was just calling me.
Well, I don't know if I will, because it's like, it's always cool to learn to do something you're not good at.
Yeah.
Right? To that's always good. But on the other hand, you don't have, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. There's only so much time. And it's like, do I want to dedicate?
I would do TikTok is what I would do over a YouTube channel.
See, I'm not familiar with it enough to know, how easy is it to monetize?
It's super easy. So I started a new channel like 2 months ago, and I just purely started talking about like sobriety and my journey, and like I'll talk face to camera, and it's like blowing up. I had a local company reach out here. They're like a counseling center, and they want to pay me just to have their link so that I could be like, hey, if you're struggling with mental health and addiction, like here's someone I recommend. And then I just had a friend last night who just texted me because he had a coffee truck, and his coffee truck like basically like imploded while he was driving. And he's like, I'm not sure what he's going to do for money. And then he was over at that burger place, In-N-Out. In-N-Out, yeah. The one in California, right?
Yeah.
The one that's not that great, but everyone thinks is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was there, and like a truck got stuck under it, and they had all the employees, like all these like teenage kids were out hanging on the truck to get it to like lower so they could get out of the drive-thru. And he filmed it, and then he put it on TikTok, and it went like super viral. And then this company reached out who like reposts like news stuff, and now they've paid him for the rights to this video. So it's just kind of like wild, like.
So do you make your money by affiliate marketing mostly, or is it clicks and views, or a combination?
So all of the above. So, if you've got a lot of views, you're going to get paid by TikTok. But you can also just affiliate products. Like I affiliate a lot of my clothes and stuff. Like when we were having breakfast and that girl was like, where's your shirt? I know if I post a video of the shirt that I have on today, because people love it, they're going to ask me where I got it, but I have a hard time finding the link for this one. So like, I can't get a commission on it, but like I get paid for my clothes. My goal is to like get paid bigger though, where it's like a real legit income, but it's like, you can get paid to just live. I follow a guy on TikTok that I think's really cool, but also I think he's like psychotic. All he does is winter camping in Alaska, and he films all of it. And I'm like watching this guy, and I'm like, how's this guy even living? But he's just like out in the bush in Alaska in the snow, and he's like killing it on TikTok.
Yes, that's kind of interesting. The only thing I thought I have on that at all is I watch, because being a park ranger, you see this in spades, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got their whatever going. In fact, they film you while you're doing cave tours, all this stuff. Sometimes I see people where I go, I was in Zion yesterday, see it literally. You can, I think, ruin the joy of the experience because you're focusing on the camera. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I'm saying that's something I see. Like I know when Matt and I rode our motorcycles to Canada, he was fully sponsored by Climb, the motorfactured gear.
Mm-hmm.
He got a full set of Climb stuff. And if you know them, the jacket costs $500.
Yeah.
All this stuff where we had to shoot product content. And there was a point where finally, he had done enough. He said, screw it. He goes, I just want to ride. So I can see that side of it too.
No, you definitely have to balance it. So like when I'm filming content, it's like I just do that bulk, and then it's like I'm done. But I also don't have like a 9-to-5 job I go to. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't bother me because I make content for other people. So like I had to do a whole bunch of mocktail content the other day, which I was like super happy about. Yeah. But so I just had to sit in my kitchen for an hour and film myself making mocktails. But I was like, whoop-de-doo-dah, you know?
See, for me, it would be what attracts me about it is I'm not good at it. I've never done it before. Yeah. To see if I could make that accomplishment. And obviously, don't really need the money. I'm not rich, but I can do what I want. But that's, just doing something different. And that's the measure of success in that world, at least in my view, is can you make money at it?
Well, yeah. And even like you've got on a Patagonia shirt, brands like that will reach out and be like, will you wear our shirt? And you're like, yeah, for 10 grand, I will, Yeah.
Now, see, you start talking that kind of money, that starts turning my head quick.
Well, yeah, visibility is currency online, and people with the most visibility are getting paid like huge.
But it'd be an interesting experience for someone like me, an old guy could go from going to zero. How far could you go?
Well, okay. So the thing is people online, you're going to be like, I'm going to say it, okay, but don't get mad. People online love older people on the app. Like they love watching like old grandmas and grandpas make content. And
well, see, it doesn't offend me because you got to remember, I spend my park ranger seasons working with people who in your world, you're already old.
Yeah.
And I love working with young people, and I totally get it. Like,
yeah,
it's funny. They were like saying something like that. They go, but no, they go, you realize I'm one of them old guys. And they're like, no, but you're not like them, Bill.
But I'm just saying, like, there's lots of like accounts out there that I even watch,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
what is the attraction?
I think for me, like, I love like seeing how cool people like are and like how many cool experiences are possible in this world. So I don't watch like TV as much as I used to, because I was kind of harping on myself for like watching TikTok. And then I'm like, well, what's the difference between me watching TikTok for 30 minutes at night or turning on a show, So like
there isn't a difference.
There isn't. Yeah. So I don't mind like consuming content in that perspective. If that's all you're doing, then you're using it to numb out and it's an addiction, but that's a different story.
But yeah, because I mean, that can be like too much TV where it's also a time suck with no productivity. But
yeah,
a lot of the internet's my drug of choice. You can spend a lot of time. Sometimes it's mindless, but other times I'm learning about things.
No, I learned so much cool stuff.
Like, where's the next trip? How,
Well, I've started like baking cookies a lot. I have a lot more time these days.
Do you remember my idea for the cooking show?
Yes. Yeah, I do actually.
We can't say it. The idea could be stolen.
It's true. But I like watch all these cookie videos and then I should have brought you guys some cookies. So I bought like, people are like, what cookies do you have? Because I like walk around and pass them out. But I made the best chocolate. It sounds basic, but these are like the best chocolate chip cookies that have ever been made. And I've got a big, huge box of them.
I'm going to be here for another week, so I'm expecting a sample.
Well,
right?
so next week's cookies, this is the thing is I watch TikTok videos and I'm like, me and my nephew, Jameson, we made Grinch cookies the other day.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm making like, stuff like that I think is really cool.
So how much traction is that getting? Because that's an experiment, right?
Yeah. I'm not making cookies on TikTok.
Oh, I thought
yeah. But I'm watching TikToks and I'm like getting the recipes from them, And there's cool stuff like that. Or even, it's more like, even like watching the guy camp in Alaska. I'm like, that's like cool. Like, I'm just fascinated by this guy's story.
Yeah, there's some like, I don't know if there's somewhere in this area. Normally I won't go down there. It's called Math Recovery. Anyway, it's on Facebook. You would look, because I can tell always at Sand Hollow, these guys have these gnarly 4x4s, and they always are just pulling the fools who drive into the sand at like Sand Hollow and other areas out. I love following that guy.
Yeah, it's just cool to kind of watch.
Yeah.
And
I don't say I have to learn a lot I didn't already know there. Like, it's like, don't drive your truck into a place you shouldn't. But it's cool. You should check it out.
Yeah.
So you see there's potential then.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And especially if you can just do it from your phone. You know what I mean?
What is the learning curve like?
It's super easy. If you've done any kind of like, I don't know, just like basic stuff, it's easy. But, when all these apps came out, though, like, it's like I just had to sit down and like play with it. And I'm like, oh, how do you cut the video? And now I can do anything. Everything I do is self-taught.
So it's a classic. It's all easy once you know how. I had a friend who used to say that saying.
Yeah.
We also had another saying. He said, if it's easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Well, exactly. But I think if you're one of those people, though, where you can see the potential, and then you could even just get on and like tell your cool stories and, be like, take people fishing with you. But the thing when I do stuff like that, like I'm only getting like a few clips and then I'm just going on with my moment. It doesn't consume my life.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I watch a lot of fishing videos. That's one of my guilty waste time pleasures. And a lot of them, I look at the views and they're not viral, but I'm like, and I'm basically, it's like, if you watch them, there's the rod he casts out, there's the pole bending, and there's him yakking away, and all of a sudden the fish is wreathing around in the net.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I'll be watching because I'm kind of going, okay, that body of water, what kind of potential fish are in there?
Yeah.
But I'm amazed at how formulaic they are, and
it's just,
and the niche is flooded too.
Yeah.
With videos. So what would you suggest I start my YouTube / TikTok career with? Which topic?
Oh my gosh, that's the problem though. It would be like Utah Bill. I think you would make yourself, like you could be like an influencer almost. And it would be like, well, today I'm going here, and you would show like just little clips of what you did that day. Especially as you're a park ranger. You could be like, come with me for the day.
Park ranger, you got to be careful. They have some pretty strict stuff you sign like you can't do it in uniform and stuff, or you just get fired.
That's interesting because it feels like they're kind of behind the time because they could be picking up lots of traction, you know?
Well, that's an interesting topic, although we're going long because they require you to. I think I told you my gripe about doing the social media posts that they require of us, but yet they don't post them online and we're not allowed to.
Yeah, and then you can't do it. Yeah, that just feels like some.
But anyway, it's a kind of a discussion in the Park Service of like all they really do is Facebook posts. And what is the goal? Is it to, now getting old pompous, but, is it to educate, teach about the park, or is our goal to get clicks and views? Because dancing rangers, that's what the people who don't lie. And I'm on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer or my opinion. They call them the dancing rangers, and the purists are like, because that gets clicks and views, right?
Yeah, I've seen those videos. They're funny.
Yeah, people like that. But then the other one is like, well, is that what we're trying to do here is get clicks and views? Or are we supposed to be trying to educate?
Well, I think you could do some really cool educational content.
But it's not something I lose a lot of sleep over because you're never allowed to post your own. And
that's crazy.
And most places it's still too archaic. They're not going to let you do something like that.
Yeah.
Zion lets you, unless I see their post. But anyway, to make a long story short, you can't monetize in the uniform as an employee.
Oh, interesting.
But, if you're in your off time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen some people do it as ex-park rangers. And I like one person, I'll remain nameless, I don't really like because, I'm your guide. I was a park ranger. So you were a park ranger for 4 or 5 years. That's all center. So they're doing the courses, the whole bit, the whole sales funnel. And I really ticked me off about her when she started. I thought, well, this is pretty cool. This is pretty, so I named her a couple of my secret spots. And she didn't give me any credit, totally exploited it as if it was her own secrets and stuff.
Oh, dang.
And at that point, it's like, you'll get nothing from me.
Yeah. Yeah. I
don't know how well they do.
Yeah. I will I'll find some people that are like you and I'll send you so you could get some ideas. But if you're going to do anything, I would do TikTok.
How much cash could a rookie make on TikTok?
I have no idea. I mean, that's like, it's limitless,
Mm-hmm.
I watch it though. I've had lots of clients where they go super viral and it changes their lives.
I don't need to change my life really. I think it'd just be cool to see if you could do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like running a marathon. It would be cool just to see if you got it in you.
I know. So far I'm only up to 10K, but I am thinking about doing the Bryce Canyon half. You want to run a half marathon, Brenda?
No.
Dang it.
As I always say, why not?
Yeah. I might die. I might just walk a few miles, but I'd make it.
Yeah. What do you got to lose? It's like so many things in life. What do you got to lose?
Everybody gets a medal too. Just for doing it.
Yeah. You always say, why not? I mean, because I have a lot of these conversations because I work with 20 somethings.
Yeah.
Well, we're sitting around the lunch table or we're hiking because when I work with them, a lot of it I say, so what is the downside? What if this fails? You're not out anything. Like say you go on a 10K, you make it to 9K.
Yeah. At least you showed up.
But on the other hand, you might blow it up and make a new record in your age class.
That's true.
So.
Yeah. No, these are things I like about the internet is actually one of the reasons I got into running was there's this girl I follow online who's kind of like similar body to mine, and I was like, she started running and I was like, well, if that girl can run, why can't I run? And there's stuff like that. Like I get really inspired by watching people.
Yeah, I think though you have to have some be realistic to some degree. Like going way back to the sports business, my initial thought when I started, I go, why can't I do that?
Yeah,
like my brother in the knife store who went to the big time and still is.
Yeah,
but then like I said, I learned life wasn't fair. Sometimes you can't. But you can't beat yourself up about that either.
Well, yeah, that wasn't your journey,
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool. Okay, well, thanks for taking time from your busy retirement vacation schedule. Actually, you're the most busy person I know, but not busy, just like you have a lot of things to look forward to.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I admire everything you do.
Thanks.
And we'll have to follow you more closely. And
maybe not, though.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Don't follow me too close.
It'd be like my story of being in jail in Cedar City.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll tell you some more of those stories.
My mom follows me.
Don't ask your mom. What did your mom say about? She probably said I was a crazy man.
No, she's never said anything like that at all. I tend to be really hard on myself. And my mom's like, she will sometimes be like, your dad's done, like, we've all done these dumb things, And I still like, even though like this is a big milestone for me to hit 40. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 40. And it's like, I still will get kind of down on myself.
Why would you get down on yourself?
I don't know.
I think that's another wiring thing.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to people when I'm like, why are you down? I go, you're so, like I would say that to you. I'm like, why would you be down on yourself?
I know, it's really interesting. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I haven't done enough or I suck. And then I realize there's people that are like watching me that are like, wow, that's like crazy. Like, you're just like so cool, And I'm like, oh. So yeah, it's just, I always have to like reframe myself.
Do you think it's a wiring thing? Because I probably have too much the other way where to me, there's always a next time. There's always another day, no matter how bad I screwed it up.
I don't know.
I'm probably that way to a fault.
Are you? I don't know. Do you feel like when you grow up, like, what are your parents? Because I never met your parents because they died when you were younger, or I guess my grandparents.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they were like very like encouraging with things? Do you feel like it was a childhood thing, or do you feel like it was like?
I don't remember a lot about that, but I definitely would not be like you and me, or like.
Yeah.
I mean, most people are not having these conversations on these topics, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember them in our household. And look at my brothers. I mean, they're not like me or you.
Well, they're all different too. Yeah.
I mean, they're not.
Were all your brothers adopted though?
No, just me and Robert.
Just you and Robert. Okay.
Jim, in fairness, I mean, he hit the big time, but he was with a guy who's like, it was the early days before, their business took off as giant. He was the computer guy. I've met the other owner. He was like us.
Yeah.
Jim doesn't have that magic, whatever it is, that juice, but he was at the right place at the right time. So I'm going as none of us had that entrepreneurial out of the box except me. I mean, look at Joe. Joe's pretty steady. I'm not only the black sheep of the family, but probably the only guy who does weird, crazy stuff.
I was like, you don't do anything that crazy.
No.
I mean, I just think you're like out there doing things, like you're living life and experiencing life.
Experimenting, because you don't want to be bored, and I'll leave it on that. Never be bored.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming on the Samantha Parker Show.
Well, thanks for having me. We'll have to talk again, and you'll see me on TikTok.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Consider it done.